District 87 expands its curriculum to help its English language learners in junior high and high school.
To really be able to meet students' needs at their English language levels in all content areas.
3D English aims to meet higher demand. That's coming up on WGLT's Sound Ideas. Good evening, I'm Lauren Warnicki. On today's show, blood supplies are low enough for the Red Cross to call it an emergency.
That's why we make this call, is so that hospitals aren't in the position to have to start picking and choosing patients over another.
And the first outdoor cannabis party is coming to Central Illinois. Of course, it's on 420.
Very, very laid back, responsible vibe, kind of good times.
That's coming up after a Bloomington Normal news update. This is Sound Ideas on 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.
Support for WGLT comes from Bloomington Normal Audiology. Hear My Story continues with local patient Paul Brandt.
Since I got the hearing aids in August, it's really been quite a remarkable change, and one that I value.
Paul's full story can be found at bnaudiology.com.
From the campus of Illinois State University in Normal, this is WGLT's news magazine, Sound Ideas. I'm Lauren Warnicki, in for John Norton. District 87 has seen enrollment decrease about 10% over the past decade. Today, roughly 4,900 students attend the Bloomington schools. But during that same period, the number of English language learners within the district has grown from 7 to 11%. Currently, that's about 550 students. This spring, the District 87 School Board adopted a new curriculum to better serve older students in that demographic. About half the district's English language learners are in Bloomington High School or Bloomington Junior High. District 87 Multilingual Programs Director Kim Tabor tells WGLT correspondent Michelle Steinbacher the new 3D English program is a response to a growing number of multilingual students in grades 6 through 12.
Back in 2016 at the high school, I think we had 35 English learners. This year we have over 100, so a lot of growth.
Among the entire group of 550, have you seen an increase across the board, or is it specifically in these older students?
Mm-hmm. It's definitely across the board, but I would say secondary has been more rapidly growing.
And do you expect that trend to continue?
I would say at this point, there's no reason to not expect it to continue. I would say that we'll continue to see more students coming and joining us who are multilingual.
The new programs target 6th through 12th graders. Could you just give us a little overview of what just happened?
So what we did this year that was new is we have separated our English language development classes to have what would be considered more of like a traditional English language development class for students who are newer to English. And then we also have classes that are very similar. It's the same curriculum and materials as our Lit and Comp classes, but with a person who is both English language arts certified and also specialized in English language development. So the students can learn the same content as their peers and they get the additional supports that they might need.
How had it been different before?
So we have students who are brand new to the country, newcomers. We have students who have been with us since pre-K and are continuing to grow and develop in their language. And before we had all of our students in the same classes, and it was really hard to meet their needs because the language development needs of someone who's new to English is different than the language development needs of someone who has been growing in their English for quite a while. So by splitting the classes into these new classes, we were able to better meet the needs of our students, but that meant we also needed to look for materials that were going to help us better meet those needs.
Why did District 87's multilingual program decide to propose this?
It really aligned very similarly with a lot of the themes that our teachers had created. And so this curriculum is going to provide them additional resources to really be able to meet students' needs at their English language levels in all content areas, which is one of our goals, is that they can grow in all content areas for their English. For our students who have been developing English for longer, they're in basically an English language development supported Lit and Comp class.
What are some of the extra challenges that the district might need to meet for the student population?
I think one of the challenges for a student who is learning English and content at the same time is really just that. You know, when they're in a math class, they're learning math and they're learning the language of math. And when they're in science, they're learning science content and the language, and they're responsible to know all of it. That can be a lot of pressure and a lot of stress for students. So we try to find ways to support them in those classes in different ways. For example, we've got a pretty cool setting going on in one of our history classes. We've got a history teacher in there and a bilingual teacher. We have students who speak Spanish and students who speak Russian and Uzbek. And so the teachers are working to teach them history and also help them grow in their English at the same time.
So the school board approved these changes at its January meeting. So what happens now?
So the materials just came in this week. Now we'll start looking through those materials. We'll do some training. Our teachers have been piloting and trying out some of the components. And then starting next year, we'll really be able to have a full implementation and full knowledge of all the wonderful inner workings of the program.
Have you heard any feedback from the teaching staff about this new program?
They're very excited for it. It's always nice when we have good quality resources that we can present to the students, and they are really excited to take this and be able to have these components to move forward with their teaching.
If you have a sixth grader who's a newcomer to English, perhaps their family also is a newcomer to English. So how do you communicate with those families?
We've put a lot of supports into place for families. So a couple different things. One is that we partner with Heartland Community College to offer English classes for parents, for adults in the evenings at Irving. And we provide childcare so they can bring their kids along and they can get tutoring and support, and their parents can be learning English. So that's one way that we're helping our families in developing English. But we also know how important family communication is. We have a district interpreter for Spanish, and so she will support staff who don't speak Spanish in reaching out with our Spanish-speaking families. And then we've provided a variety of resources for our staff. For example, if they need to reach a family in Uzbek, we have some different translation supports available. I mean, the technology has evolved so much really just in the past couple of years that we have a lot more ways that we can connect with families in their home language than we did in the past. Even this year, we've acquired a new program in which we can send text messages out to families and it goes into the language of the phone. So whatever language the family has their phone set to is the language they'll receive the message in. Same with email. So we're trying to really make sure that what we're sharing with families is being able to be understood by as many families as possible.
The new 3D English curriculum is for Bloomington High School and junior high students. But Kim Tabor says the district also recently updated materials and programming for its pre-K through 5th graders. District 87 is home to 6 elementary schools, plus the Sarah Raymond Early Education Center. The English Language Development Program is available at every building. There's also a dual language program available to some Spanish-speaking students. That runs pre-K through 8th grade. Lessons begin almost entirely in Spanish, then shift to include English. This dual language option is for bilingual graduates. Spanish is the most common language other than English in District 87 homes, but more than 40 languages are spoken among district families. Kim Tabor spoke with WGLT correspondent Michelle Steinbacher. Coming up tomorrow on Sound Ideas, the family of Jelani Day is trying to help other families of color search for missing loved ones. It's been nearly a year and a half since ISU student Jelani Day's body was found following a search that went on for weeks. We'll hear from Day's family. That's coming up on tomorrow's show.
Artificial intelligence, as you know, runs on algorithms and models. Enter now AI poison.
When we look at it, in fact, we can barely see anything at all. But in reality, when AI models look at it, they actually perceive something very, very different.
I'm Kai Rizdal. Art in the age of AI. Next time on Marketplace.
Listen to Marketplace beginning at 5:30 this afternoon on WGLT, sponsored by CEFCU. The National Security Agency helps guard the nation's secrets, so we don't hear from them often. But its outgoing leader spoke to NPR about its biggest challenges tomorrow on Morning Edition from NPR News.
Wake up with Morning Edition tomorrow morning on 89.1 WGLT.
It's Sound Ideas. I'm Lauren Warnicki. The number of blood donations is the lowest it's been in 20 years. A lack of donors means the American Red Cross has announced an emergency blood shortage. Mara Thompson from the American Red Cross of Illinois says the shortage means they are sending more blood to hospitals than they're getting in from donors. Thompson tells Cameron Cutinello from sister station WCBU winter weather led to cancellations of hundreds of blood drives. That's just one factor that makes blood supplies especially low this year.
We always kind of see a dip this time of year, but I think some of the added challenges we're dealing with as well is, there's an uptick in COVID cases. People are getting sick again. They're not feeling well. And of course, we don't want people that aren't feeling well to come out and give blood.
And you mentioned people getting sick, but what were some of the kind of larger impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think in general, that has been one of our challenges over the past several years. Even in the past 20 years, we've seen about 40% less people regularly showing up to give blood. And we contribute a lot of that to the pandemic. Before the pandemic, we a lot of times would have people at work hosting, events, but people aren't going into the office as much anymore. And people aren't, their work life situation is just different. A lot of people are working from home. They're not getting out and about to maybe make stopping at a blood drive one of their regular stops.
What are the impacts that we'll see from a blood shortage?
Absolutely. So, of course, we want to make sure that everyone has the blood that they need. So elective surgeries are usually kind of the first thing to go. We'll start putting those things off, but we don't have to make those decisions quite yet. And hopefully we don't have to. And that's why we call a shortage, to let people know hopefully they can open up time in their schedules to come donate before it gets to that point. But that's why we make this call, is so that hospitals aren't in the position to have to start picking and choosing patients over another, because we never want that to be a situation, obviously.
Does the Red Cross have any other potential reasons for why people are just donating blood less?
When it comes down to it, about 62% of the population is eligible to donate, but only 3% of that actually does go out and donate. And I think what we have been seeing is we see the same blood donors over and over again. Our regular blood donors are very consistent, and we are so grateful that they come out and donate. But where we are struggling is those first-time donors. People, unless they're used to having it in their schedule, it's not something that they're thinking to do. But it really is so easy. And I'm an example of that. Really, before I started working at the Red Cross, I'll be honest, I had never given blood because it just wasn't top of mind. Unless you are at a university or a school or a workplace where maybe they have a blood drive there, it wouldn't necessarily be something that you think to add into your regular schedule. But at the end of the day, it does save lives giving blood. And the whole process only takes about an hour start to finish. You're on the bed for really only 10 to 15 minutes.
What impact has the FDA recently dropping restrictions related to gay and bisexual men had?
I don't know if I can really talk about the impact. I don't think we've got any numbers about, okay, yes, we've seen an increase. But what I can tell you about that is the Red Cross has always wanted to have the most inclusive blood donation process that it can. And this is just an added step towards that. We, of course, want anyone that is healthy and able to donate to give blood the opportunity to do so.
What is kind of the current criteria? How can someone find out if they're eligible to give blood?
So anyone 17 or older is eligible to give blood, 16 with parental consent. But really what we do is, if you've never given blood before, as long as you're a normal, healthy person, you don't think that you have any pre-existing conditions, things like that, you're probably eligible. And what we'll do is, before you come in to donate blood, we'll send you a health questionnaire screening, and you just go through some of those questions, and then that would flag if there's anything in there that would allow you not to donate to give blood. So if you knew that ahead of time and it disqualifies you, then you'll know ahead of time. But most people, like I said, 62% of the population is eligible to donate to give blood. You fill out that health screening questionnaire. You talk to a phlebotomist when they get there. You go through some of your hemoglobin levels and some of that stuff, just to make sure on the day of you are good and your levels are good and you'll be healthy and not have any issues. But yeah, so it's as long as you're 17 and 110 pounds, those are pretty much the qualifications, the base qualifications that you need.
And then how can interested people find a place to donate?
The easiest way to do that is to go to redcrossblood.org. We also have the blood donor app, which is really great. And all you do is you put in your zip code and it pops up all of the closest blood drives in your area over the next 2 weeks or whatever. You can put out whatever timing you want in for that. And then you just go ahead and sign up. You don't need to know your blood type. You don't really need to know anything. You can just show up and they'll walk you through all of the steps that you need before your donation.
That was the American Red Cross's Mara Thompson speaking with WCBU reporter Cameron Cutinello. You can search area blood drives by zip code by going to redcrossblood.org. Finally, today on Sound Ideas, there's high times ahead for Central Illinois this spring. The region's first ever cannabis festival kicks off at the Logan County Fairgrounds in Lincoln on April 20th. That's right, 4/20. WGLT's Lindsay Jones spoke to festival organizers Tiffany Jackson and Alicia LaSure about why 2024 is the right year to launch it. Jackson says, as a cannabis entrepreneur, it's been on her mind.
Actually, it's been on all of our mind for a few years now. We noticed that there was it's disproportionate. There's always events and festivals in the Chicago area, and I mean, they're everywhere, but when you get to Central Illinois, there's no festivals, nothing 420 friendly. And as the industry continues to boom and get, larger and people started more so normalizing the cannabis industry, we had to do something down in Central Illinois to make sure that we were on the map and that everybody knew, that they can come to an Illinois festival, a safe space, responsible, and enjoy and listen to bands and have fun.
The festival is going to be at the Logan County Fairgrounds in Lincoln?
Correct. Yes.
How did you land on that as the location for this festival?
Well, also Mystic Greens Dispensary is in Lincoln too. So Mystic Greens is actually we're a part owner of Mystic Greens Dispensary as well. And so with the dispensary in Lincoln and brand new, and we're bringing all this energy to Lincoln, we just wanted to keep the party going there. So
did you find that you had to jump through any hoops, or was there any resistance, when you pitched, hey, I'm going to have a cannabis friendly festival?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, because people are thinking Woodstock, but we want more of the same peaceful energy, but more of a, very, very laid back, responsible vibe, kind of good times. We'll have a lot of security and stuff like that. But it was a bit of a reluctancy, but more so for possible, consumption, but it'll be contained to one area. Everybody won't be walking around just doing their own thing. We got a lot of oversight over that, and we have it all kind of managed with our security company to make sure it's all safe and good to go.
So somebody shows up, they got their ticket, they're ready to go. What can they expect once they get there?
You can expect to visit and be educated by a lot of the cultivators that will have their brands, give them good information and direction of maybe what they're looking for. Then you can also expect to get some food, some drinks. There will be alcohol beverages available too. It's all 21 plus event. There will also be music all day, DJs, bands, local and from out of town. Mm-hmm. Also, we're going to be hosting some games, some fun activities to do on the side while you're just chilling out. You can bring a lawn chair. There'll be chairs also around the fairgrounds. Just kind of a good vibe is the whole goal there.
And goodie bags. You forgot about the goodie bags. It'll be a lot of freebies there, just say.
From the vendors?
From the vendors, yeah. A lot of the cultivators are really supportive. They're really showing up in a big way. And we're excited to actually share their swag and their brands, with the community as well. Because some things we might not have tried, or it's uninfused, you just want to try it. No trouble. We'll have it all there for you.
You may not be able to answer this, but are there any particular vendors that you're excited to see tabling at the festival just because of the products that they'll be bringing?
Actually, I don't know if we should even say it, but that's okay. I'm excited actually about Cresco. Lincoln is home for Cresco Labs as well. Mm-hmm. So, we've always wanted to kind of foster that partnership, and we were so happy when we, told them about it. They jumped on the team right away. They were excited. They were right with us. Also, Arise and 93 Boys and Days Off. They're pushing some new products. I can't say too much, but we'll be able to highlight them exclusively also at the festival. So it'll be great. And those are some popular brands in Central Illinois too. So we're happy that they can kind of get that face time with folks who, may not even know what this brand is about. They've had these lingering questions. This is the time to bring them all to the festival while you have a good time.
So again, this is the first in Central Illinois, but there were others that happened in Chicago. And so I wonder, was there any anything that you looked at that went really well in Chicago, or anything that you looked at and saw that had been done that you were like, no, we're going to do this differently? Any takeaways from that?
Well, the festivals in Chicago, maybe the biggest takeaway was the consumption piece. Sometimes it's not as controlled as everyone would like, and it's I think our plan was to make sure that it was responsible and to make sure that it was like in a more controlled environment so that there aren't any issues. Altogether, these festivals are so chill. I mean, I don't know how many 420 friendly folks you know, but they're like most of the chillest group of people I've ever had the pleasure of working with and talking with and knowing in my entire life. So we're pretty confident that it'll be a pretty calm crowd.
Yeah. So you mentioned, there is some safe consumption allowed at the festival.
Correct.
You've built in parameters for that. What are those parameters?
It will be in a centralized location that will give you a map of the place when you walk through the door. And, most people will probably beeline that way, but it'll be set up as like a couch, kind of cozy corner or building, really. And so that, it's safe, and you have some oversight over there just in case, anybody needs anything or have any problems. But I mean, it's kind of full service over there, so we're excited about that part too.
Do you feel like now is a good time for this? Because it's been legal forever, but even after that happened, there was still like so much resistance from pockets of the state. But now I feel like the number of these events, obviously most of them are in Chicago, but they've skyrocketed. And then I think it was 2023 last year, they had the first music festival that was also like very much a cannabis event at the same time.
Yeah, Cultivate, yeah. And they did extraordinary. I mean, they really paved the way for, events like this to even happen in Central Illinois. And we've still had a lot of resistance, there's still a lot of misunderstanding around the cannabis, arena. But I come from kind of a veteran background. I was in the Army, and I've seen a lot of my friends, who, were PTSD-related injuries, physical injuries that have incorporated cannabis and have, started to come back and jump back to, have a normal life or be able to have some kind of quality of life. And to see those kind of stories, to see those kind of remarkable transitions is, it's heartwarming for us, and it's why we do it, And so this is the time I think we're more, we understand more of the wellness part of the plant. There's recreational, it's party time too, but there's a lot of wellness behind it. And that's the part that we really have been fine-tuning and pushing to the community as well.
The festival on Saturday, April 20th at the Logan County Fairgrounds runs from 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Tickets are on sale now at 420illinoisfestival.com. Thanks for choosing WGLT's Sound Ideas, made possible in part by Bloomington Normal Audiology. I'm Lauren Warnicki. Story help today came from WGLT's Lindsay Jones, correspondent Michelle Steinbacher, and Cameron Cutinello from sister station WCBU. Ryan Toohey edits the show. This is 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.